Good evening. Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Happy New Year. I just want to wish everybody a happy new year. Welcome to my podcast, Buying and Selling with Bree. I just want to thank you for all tuning in um, this evening. I know you all could have picked something else or watch a favorite movie, but I just want to thank you all for just being here. Today we're going to talk about credit. I'm going to speak about uh, the building, the new builds, and the construction just for a minute, just for a little bit. So, as you know, 2021 it really took a hit on everybody. So, um, everybody world was just almost turned upside down. The housing market is pretty rough out here. Hopefully, it'll flatten out and it will get better. Um, but to start the new year off right, so that the main thing you need to do first is to check your credit. So later on in the show, I'm going to have meet Demetrius Ross with Ross Financial. And as you know, since COVID has hit and since the Omicron variant, the stock market has changed. Um, the interest rates now, it depends on your lender or whoever you're going with. The interest rates now, some of them are 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. So this is why I started my podcast off this year is with credit, because the higher your credit score, the better your interest rate may be, and depending on your lender, you may be able to, buy your interest rate down, just a little. Um, the higher your interest rate, the less that you will qualify for. So you just want to make sure that when Miss Ross come on, Demetrius come on, she's going to talk about credit and think the way you can make things better. It is still a market where there are multiple offers. It's just not a lot of inventory on the market. It's just not a lot of inventory like it was. So right now it's still multiple offers and everything, and everyone that's approved for maybe even $300,000 and less, it's just multiple offers right now. So the first time home buyer, they got to be a little patient. And I know it's frustrating. I know it's really upsetting because you'll never feel like you'll be able to get a house, but you just have to be patient and just when it's time, it will work out. But I always tell my buyers, never ever give up, because it's always a house out there for you. I want to talk about a little bit about the new construction. With new construction, of course, there is no inventory for you to see, and there is also like a waiting list that's out there for all the builders. Right now, depending on the area that you're in, new builds, I think some starting prices are at $350, and the houses are small, and right now $350 seems to be the starting price. In some areas that might be even maybe not even enough. So it all depends on where you live and what you do. So you have to understand that as a first-time home buyer, when you're starting out with your realtor, or even if you're just out looking, the best thing to do is to decide what side of town that you would like to stay on, what city. This is why it's so important to have a realtor, because the realtor will know the price ranges of the new builds. And, we have a system that we can go in and look and see, what's out there. Yes, y'all do use Zillow and Realtor.com, but we have exactly what's out there. We can tell you the status, we can, see things that you all can't see. So it's best to find a realtor to help you and guide you through your home buying process. I know when you go to a builder, they say, oh, you don't need one, but you need that realtor there to negotiate for you, to see what extra incentives there are, because sometimes the builder may or may not tell you, what incentives are there. So that's what we are there for. And when you get a new bill, um, if they tell you it says, oh, it's going to be 4 to 6 months, but there is a shortage of supplies right now. There is a shortage of windows. There's a shortage of doors. There's a shortage of air conditioning. It's pretty sad, but there is a shortage of paint. They can't get paint. And the main thing, there's definitely lumber. You all know that the lumber is high. So you got to make sure. I want you to have patience when you're looking, especially for a new build. And also too, the reason why I say you want to have patience is because if they tell you, oh, the house gonna take 4 to 6 months, sometimes it may take longer, depending on the workers that they have, and they just may not have any workers in the house. Now, as far as what we see on TV and what you see on TV, you all are thinking that the price of the lumber is what's driving the price of the house up. Yes, but it's everything as a whole. It's the shortages of all the materials to build a house. Yes, the houses may be overpriced. They're just going up and up and up by the week. And it's really hard for the first time home buyers, but I just want you all, to be patient and have patience. Always take a realtor with you when you're going to look at a new build. They will stay on top of it. They will communicate with the salesperson. They will check on things while you at work. That's what I do. That's what other realtors know I do. They go by, they take film, they know the status, they know everything. So I believe probably, in my opinion, within the next couple of months, the market will probably get, tighter as far as buying a home. But we all just have to be patient because everybody is in the same boat. And please remember, whatever you do, it is a list. So if you see a house that you like from a particular builder, I always have a backup option where you might have liked the A, but you like the A and the B. So put your name on both lists. So when it comes up, they'll call you and ask you, are you still interested in purchasing that house? Even though you may have already found another home or something like that, leave your name on the list. But the main thing, again, is what I always say. If your credit is good, it will definitely help you with your interest rate and down payment assistance. And remember, there are multiple down payment assistance. So I, as a realtor, when my clients ask me about down payment assistance, I make sure that they go to the lender for that, because that is a lender question. Being that there are so many different type of down payment assistance program, I don't have access to all that. And every buyer will not qualify for every down payment assistance program out there. Every one of them have different credit requirements, and they have different credit scores. So tonight, this is the reason I decided to start my podcast. So get your credit in order. Ask questions. Miss Ross is the professional. She has a very successful business. Her information will be rolling at the screen right there. So if you want to call her, set up a consultation, let me know. And as far as let us know. And if you're needing a realtor, I am here. I am in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but I do work the entire DFW Metroplex. So you can also give me a call too. My information will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And when you buy a new build, I know the money is tight, but try to get an inspection done of the home before they sheetrock it. Because sometimes there could be things wrong with the house. Even though it's a new build, you still might have some things that are wrong with the house. It doesn't matter if it's a new build, mistakes still happen. And there are things that can be overlooked. And being that there are a shortage of workers, they may be, everybody's making mistakes. They was making mistakes before when there was a lot of workers, but now they're probably, forgetting a lot of things, just trying to hurry up on a house. So if you can't afford it, just make sure you get an inspector. Contact your realtor. They will refer you to someone that they worked with previous. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Ms. Demetrius Ross. And today, my topic is you are your credit. What you see on your credit, that is you. So without further ado, if Mr. Demetrius Ross is available, I would like to bring on Ms. Demetrius Ross of Ross Financial Solutions. Good evening. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, everybody. Hello, how are you? I'm doing good, thank you.
Just introduce yourself a little bit and let everyone know how long you've been in the business.
Okay, cool. So if you tuned in before, you know that I'm Demetria Ross and I own Ross Financial Solutions. I am assisting my clients with mainly qualifying for home ownership. Most clients are in my credit repair program for that sole reason, but we do work on overall better credit. So if you need a new vehicle, if you need to refinance your vehicle, if you need to improve your credit for selling your business or qualifying for a loan, whatever it is, that's what I do. Overall, we are trying to see if we can reduce negative items on your credit report as well as help you build credit. That's the main thing. And I have a few different plans that will be options. And then once we're done, depending on your goal, we will send you back to the Realtor or lender to go ahead and start shopping.
Okay. And everyone that has John, whether you are a realtor or whoever you are, if our realtors, we are not the credit expert. Even if you are on here and you are a realtor, just ask a question and I will see it and then I will ask her. But the first thing I want to say is Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And this is why I wanted to start my podcast off this year. It's about credit. That's why I said you are your credit. So when I say you are your credit, what's on the credit report is a reflection of you. So what are the main things that you're seeing now, mainly that's consistent on everybody's credit report?
Right. And that's really important what you say, you are your credit. I always tell people it's like an adult report card. It's pretty much you walking around and you're graded on your past, whether that's good or bad. So, lenders, they don't really care too much, or banks, they don't really care too much about your income. Of course, that does play a big part, but when they pull those credit reports, then it's not where it needs to be. That's really big. So, definitely what I see a lot of is mainly collections. Depending on the type of loan, that's what most clients are trying to reduce or get off completely. So those collections play a big part because they are calculated into your debt to income ratio. So that's the main thing that most clients are working on, as well as building credit. Some clients don't even know where to start with boosting their credit skills outside of it. And there's plenty of things that you can do on your own with credit.
Okay, so the other question that I have is student loans seem to be a big topic right now. So say, for instance, if I had a $15,000 student loan, how do they determine a payment if you don't have a payment?
Right. So the lender from, I forgot when exactly it came out, but it was like late last year that the student loan calculation changed, and it's mainly with FHA. I think it's specific to FHA actually. So they used to take 1% of whatever your student loan balance was.
Okay.
Right now, and in recent months, that's changed because they're going to take 0.5%. So that gives the buyer more buying power. So if you don't have a student loan payment, if you're like on a, what is it called? Income-based repayment plan, $5, or you pay $0 to answer your question. What they're going to do, as long as there's documentation of that, then that's what they're going to calculate.
Okay, so I have a question. Like the person that's got a $20,000 loan in deferment and they don't have a payment plan, the lender's going to, if 1% back then, so that'll been $2,000. What if you have a payment plan? Will the lender use the payment plan that you already have set up, or will they make you get on another payment plan?
Yeah, they're going to use the payment plan that you have set up because they're going to take what's documented on your credit report. And I think I just misstated that. So if your credit report shows that you're on a payment plan, usually it's going to say that you're paying $0. Right now, it's a little different because everybody's in deferment.
Okay.
But they're going to take whatever your documented payment is. So if you're
Okay.
$0, if you have documentation of that, and I haven't looked at it in a while, but I believe they're going to take 0.5% of whatever the loan is. If you have a document, if it's documented that you actually pay, $10 a month, if it's anything less than 0.5%, they're going to take what you actually pay. So if you only pay $10 and that 0.5% is more, they're going to take the $10. That $10 is going to be calculated into your debt to income ratio, which is really
so they can't raise what you've already made an agreement with them.
Right. As long as it's documented,
as long as it's documented,
it has to be that you have documentation that that's what you're paying, and that's really helpful. Just because a lot of people were put into those plans where they only pay $5 a month, and if it says you pay $5 a month, that's what the lender is going to calculate. You're not going to have to calculate, I owe $15,000 in student loans. They're going to take exactly what your monthly payment is.
Okay. So you said that are the student loans payment, are they still in deferment right now? Or so did they decide when they're going to take them out of deferment, or are they not still making people pay?
Yeah, right, so it's been extended. At first it was, I forgot the specific day last year, but it was extended to end of January. So we got clients prepared like, hey, let's start paying your student loans at the end of January.
Okay.
It was extended again. So the student loans are being deferred until the end of May. So if you have student loans, of course, your duty right now is to make sure that your loan servicer has your up-to-date address, your up-to-date contact information, especially because there are two major student loan servicers that dropped out of the business. So a lot of people were seeing their student loans closed or paid on their credit report, and they're thinking, hey, my student loans went away. They didn't go away unless you really were in a loan forgiveness program. What happened was that Fed Loan Servicing and Navient, I believe.
Yes, Navient, I think, and that's what I want to bring up too. I know I was looking at something late night on TV. They was just saying, make sure you call the person that's servicing your student loan, because they're moving, and like you said, if you see it zero, you're not going to pay attention to it, but then in a couple of months it might show up again, and you be like, hey, but you didn't pay. But what happened?
A new servicer. So
yes, they have a new servicer
or emails from that company letting you know when those student loan payments start back up in May or June. And that's who you need to be paying, so that you make sure that you don't have any late payments or any issues when it comes to your credit.
Okay, we do have a question here, but I need to add something. So what are the lenders like? The main thing that the lenders look at now, is that the first thing you think they look at on the credit report is the student loan, or have you seen people get denied because of their student loan even though they weren't behind?
Yeah, you can definitely be denied for student loans, and that's because overall the lender is trying to see how much home you can afford, or how much buying power you have. So that's why it was really big news last year that the FHA loan requirements were taking 1% of the student loan out of the equation, and they will only consider 0.5%. So you can have a client with a 720 credit score, 680 credit score. Of course, that's a great credit score for the type of loan, but they couldn't get approved for a home because they have too much student loan debt. So once they even that 0.5% change, it really allowed it to open up for more people to get into the market and start searching, just because they had less that was being considered on their student loan balances.
Okay. There was a question. What is the difference between, I think it was revolving credit, and I forgot the other question it was. What's revolving credit?
Yeah, revolving credit versus overall credit. So there are two different types of accounts on your credit report. There are, outside of the negative accounts, there are revolving accounts and there's installment accounts. So that's a little bit about what I said earlier, like things that you can do on your own, whether if you don't want to enroll in credit repair, or if it's not in the budget to enroll in credit repair. You can make sure that you have revolving credit and installment credit. So revolving is a little bit more important, just because you can miss out on a lot of points by not having open credit cards. So credit cards are revolving credit. That means that the payment changes each month. And basically, most clients are doing good with 2 credit cards minimum. That's just where you want to start. So 2 credit cards, make sure that you have those open in order to get the maximum points in that category.
Okay, before we go on to the installment side, on the revolving credit, say you have 5 credit cards and you don't have a car payment and you renting a house and you pay off those credit cards and you haven't used them for 6 months. Will that hurt or help your credit because it's not going to show a payment history?
Right. So there's two things to that. That's you paid off all your credit cards, possibly like you're saying, to a zero balance. You really want to kind of play with your numbers just because there are credit reports that do good with having all credit cards paid off. But when you're in credit repair and you're building, especially if those accounts are newer, and newer I mean less than 2 years old, you want to keep at least a small balance on those credit cards. And you also said not having any auto loan. If you don't have any installment accounts open, then that's where you're missing points as well, because you want to have a good credit mix. So you want to have open credit cards and you want to have an open installment account. So that's where I tell people to maybe get a self account. That's a credit builder account where you save money and build credit at the same time. Or if you have student loans or auto loan, you're already good on the installment account.
So when you say self account, are you talking like going to the bank and get a secured credit card? Is that what you're talking about? Are there accounts that they can help without going to the bank to help them build their credit?
Right. So self is actually the name of a company. It's a company where they offer a secured loan. So that's in that category of an installment account. So somebody that can benefit from a self account is someone that doesn't have, like your example, that doesn't have an auto loan or they don't have student loans. All they have is open credit cards. That company is called Self, but there's other accounts that you can get. Maybe if you have a credit union or if your bank offers a secured loan. It's kind of like a secured credit card, but you're using your own money to fund a loan. Basically, every month into a loan. When that loan is finished, they send you the money back or unlock the money that you
they do.
And then that has helped your credit report tremendously because it helped your credit mix. You got another installment account. It added payments. And then, of course, you save money and build your credit at the same time.
Installment credit. Somebody wants to ask, what is installment? Credit. What are installment credit?
So that's a little bit about what I said. So installment accounts are like the self accounts that I just told you. It's a secured loan, or you can have a personal loan. Like if you go to like any of these loan companies out here, if you get a loan from your bank, a personal loan, that's an installment account. An installment account could be an auto loan. It could be your mortgage. It could be a student loan. Any account where you have a set term, say I'm going to pay this account for 12 months or for 72 months. It's a set term that's the same amount every month that you pay until it's paid off. It doesn't revolve or it doesn't change like a credit card.
So it must have a monthly payment in order to be an installment account.
Yeah, so it definitely will have a monthly payment or else it will be closed. So if it's an installment account, a report, it will say installment on the credit report, but it will also help you mainly because there's two types of installment accounts. There are short term, maybe where you get like a month, a loan that's like 6 months. And then there's long term where you have your student loans, your auto loans, or your mortgage. You want to have one of each in order to get the maximum points in that category.
We had another question about buying a house. When you're buying a house, are you supposed to not use or use your credit cards?
So you still want to definitely use them. And you gave a question, or you asked a question a while ago where maybe the person hadn't used their credit cards in 6 months. You want to risk of having the lender close your credit card if you don't use it for that long. So you want to use it at least a few times a year if you have a good history. But if, like I said, if you're building, you don't want to have a $0 balance. You want to use those credit cards. But in this question, even if you're buying a home, you want to continue to use your credit cards. You just don't want to run up a lot of debt. So if your credit card balances are $1,000, you still wanted to report like, hey, I'm using $10 of my credit accounts, or I'm using, $30. You don't want to have a $500 balance or $1,000 balance when those cards are reporting, just because it'll cause you to lose a lot of points whenever that reports a high balance like that.
So if someone has a credit card and the balance is $1,000, should they charge no more than 200? Is that in, or how high should they go so it won't affect their credit score?
Good question. So I actually tell my clients 1 to 7% of whatever the credit limit is. So if you have $1,000 credit limit, every statement that comes out, you want it to be no less than $10. That's that 1%, and no more than $70. That's the 70%.
Okay.
So if it's a $200 card limit, then that's $2 or
Okay.
$7 or
Okay.
$14. So anything that reports a $0 balance, you can actually lose points. So for example, it really depends. It's specific to the credit report. I had a card where I had just last month, I lost 16 points on my credit report just because it reported a 1% balance last month. And then when it updated this month, I had paid it to a zero balance. So sometimes, depending on your credit report, you can actually lose points if it shows that you're not using any balance or any money on that card.
Okay. Okay. So the way the economy is now, and you're the credit expert, what has been the lowest score that you've seen that someone can purchase a house, and what interest rate did they get? Because as of today, the interest rate has just went higher for everybody.
Right.
So somebody with a 580 credit score, are they still able, or are there lenders out there that will help them with a 580 credit score?
There definitely is. I always have my clients shoot for a goal that's higher than 580.
Okay.
I've even seen down to 500.
Oh,
My personal opinion, it's ridiculous. Like, why would you get a house with that low of a credit score? And that's me personally. Some people have the funds. Some people have $50,000 in their bank account, $20,000 in their bank account.
oh, okay.
Credit score. So there are lenders that are definitely going to go ahead and approve them just because they have the cash. So if you have a 580 credit score, you definitely can expect to have a very high interest rate, and you can expect to pay thousands and thousands of dollars more than somebody with a higher credit score over the life of that loan.
That's a good point. But the other downside to having a lower credit score is you will not be able to get any down payment assistance, because most of the time the down payment assistance, their credit score has to be 620, 640, and every program has a different credit requirement or different restrictions, and that's what the buyers need to understand. Your credit score might be 700, mine might be 800, but then my debt to ratio still may be higher than yours, and I still may not even qualify for. I might qualify for less, and you qualify for more. So it's a big picture here. But there are a lot of buyers who say, "Well, my cousin got this." Well, you don't know you don't know those underlying conditions. So, and that's another thing they have to understand if they want down payment assistance. Some lenders will do that. You do have other lenders that have those overlays or whatever that they can do. And you do have some of them that say, no, your credit score has to be 640 or 650 or, to get where you want. So a 580 credit score is doable, but there are a lot of things that they could be missing out on.
Yeah. And you definitely, like I said, you have to realize that, like you said, you don't qualify for down payment assistance, but also you have to have money. You really have to have money if you have a 580 credit score. Also, another big thing is you don't want to shoot for that minimum credit score just because your credit is going to be checked a few times during the bond process. So if you get a pre-approval and just say if you're at a 590 or 600, you run the risk of maybe 2 months later, the lender checks your credit score. If you're barely under, then you run the risk of that loan falling through or not being approved just because you don't even qualify anymore. So you don't want to shoot for the minimum credit score. You really want to, if you have time, I suggest that you make time to get the credit score highest as you get, the higher that you can, just because it'll give you some room if anything happens. If a new collection pops up, maybe it hurts your debt to income ratio because you make a good amount of money, but a new collection dropped your credit score. Now you don't qualify for the home at all. So you really just want to make sure you have room while you're building credit.
And speaking of collections and stuff like that, it's three bureaus: Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. Sometimes every creditor doesn't report to every bureau. So being that Experian is like one of the main bureaus that look at like my credit report, it's some stuff that's on Experian that's not on TransUnion or Equifax, and my scores are higher. Versus Experian has everything, even though it's good, I still have more credit history, which made my score lower. So can you explain that? Why does that happen like that?
And so for me, I don't exactly know if Experian has less qualifications, because it seems like it's pretty easy to report to Experian. You also have to pay for reporting. So I don't know if they're less expensive or whatever compared to the other bureaus. But it could be a good thing and a bad thing. So sometimes when you get an auto loan, you really want that to help all through credit reports.
Okay, yes.
But maybe it only reports to 2, or maybe it only reports to 1.
Right.
Or if you get a collection, maybe that company, they don't report to all 3. So that's a good thing. Maybe it dropped just your Experian credit score, and your TransUnion and Equifax still look good. So that's why you want to make sure that when you're building your credit, you're making sure that you have credit cards that report to all 3. You're making sure you have installment accounts that report to all 3, because some of these accounts, like maybe some furniture companies or maybe some loan places, they don't report to all 3. Medical debt is really big too, because a lot of medical collections are only on Experian. So if you have clients where they're going to buy a home, maybe they don't have medical debt on Equifax or TransUnion, or maybe they don't have as much. But whenever the lender or I pull their Experian credit scores, you have 10 accounts that you didn't know about, maybe because you're only looking at TransUnion and Equifax on Credit Karma. So that's important too. Just making sure you know what's on all 3 credit reports, and making sure that you know each account, who they report to.
Okay, speaking of collections, when you have a collection account, can they, like Labrita Credit Services, can they actually sell it to you if it's been on the credit report for 10 years? Can they actually sell it to you and it'll start counting over?
Good question. So that's a big misconception. The only thing that I can actually start that clock over, and it depends on the type of account, because sometimes a payment on an account can start the clock over, but that's real. What actually starts the clock is the date that the first delinquency happened. So just say I had a repo in 2016. A lot of the times people are thinking that because I got the car maybe in, well, let me give specific dates that'll kind of make sense. So say I got a car in 2015 and the car was repoed in 2019. A lot of people are thinking that that car is supposed to fall off my credit in 2022 just because I got it 7 years ago. But it's not going to fall off my credit actually until 2026 because 2026 because that's when I first went delinquent on that account. So if that account is sold to another collection agency, it doesn't matter when that collection agency got that account. Maybe if you look at your credit report, it shows that it was opened in 2020.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's going to stay on there another 7 years. It's going to fall off exactly when it's supposed to from the time that it first went delinquent. 7 years from the time that you first missed that first payment.
Okay. The other question I have, since you spoke of that, a car gets repoed. So say, for instance, I had a balance of $10,000 and then they sold the car for $8,000. So that left a $2,000 balance. Is that the $2,000 that's going to be on my credit, or the whole $10,000 is going to be on the credit?
Yeah, so mainly it's the deficiency balance. Is what they couldn't collect on the car when it went to auction or whenever they sold it. So that $2,000 is usually what's going to be on your credit report. Some companies will still charge interest, so you may see that balance increasing, but most times it's just a set balance where they couldn't collect the full $10,000, so they're going to charge that to you. So when you're looking at repos, it's important to remember whether you turned that car in voluntarily or they had to repo it because maybe you didn't make a payment, it's still the same. The only difference is it shows involuntary repossession on your credit report versus voluntary repossession. It's still a balance, it's still a deficiency balance that's going to hurt you when it reports to your credit.
So what if they sell the car and make more money? off the car. So what happens? Will it still be on your credit as a repossession?
You know what? That's a good question. So I'm gonna research that only because I've never seen that. I've never seen.
Okay.
I've seen a repossessed car. Of course, it still has a balance. Most times, it still has a balance, and
Okay.
the reason is because cars depreciate. So
Yeah,
it's
they do.
rare, and I'm pretty sure this is the reason why I've never seen it, because it's rare that when the car is repossessed, they're gonna get more than what you owed on it. And it is possible, like right now, because in the last few months, a lot of cars, no matter what your balance on, sometimes you're actually getting more than what the car is
Yes,
worth.
yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
they
that's
are.
a good question. I would definitely have the answer whenever we get back on here next month, or whenever you have the podcast again. But I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that it's still going to show a repossession. It's just not going to show a balance. And
Okay.
that's good, of course, because whenever you go to the lender, the less debt that you have, the better.
Okay. So we've talked about revolving credit. We've talked about installments. We've talked about student loans and collections. So when the lender pulls your credit report, um, can you explain to people what the FICO score is, or
Hmm.
that it's not the score that they see? It's a whole different score. Can you explain why does that occur?
Right. So there are a few different credit models. There are Vantage scores. That's what you see on Credit Karma or Credit Sesame or Wallet Hub. Um, a lot of credit card companies use
Uh-huh.
Vantage scores. Those are those scores, and then there's FICO scores. Sometimes you can get a free FICO score from your bank. Maybe they have a FICO 8 score. Some have FICO 9 scores that lenders do not use. Or you can even get your FICO scores, all three, the accurate scores that lenders see at myfico.com. So both models
Okay.
are right. There's Vantage scores and there's FICO scores. They're both right. It's just the score that is generated on Vantage that's not correct. So that's not what lenders are going to use. So the FICO 8 score, if
Mhm.
you have your bank or credit card or
Okay.
whatever app you're looking for, that's a standard FICO 8 score. A lot of the times when you apply for a credit card, that's the score that they're going to look at, or a loan or anything.
Oh, okay,
If
okay,
you apply for an auto loan, there are also auto loan scores. So you have your mortgage, or you have your FICO auto scores.
okay.
You also have the mortgage scores, as you know. So those are the scores that the lenders will see. So some people have higher FICO scores. Some people have
Okay.
higher mortgage scores or lower mortgage scores than their regular FICO scores. So if you are working on your own credit, you're watching this, or you are going to tune into the replay, I would say if you're working on your own credit or you're in credit repair, just remember that the scores that you see, usually even on the credit monitoring that we use, those are not the scores that the lenders are going to see.
That's mainly what I want you to say. So let me ask you something. When they go to Experian.com and they pull, all three of their credit reports, and then they look at the FICO score that's there, should
Mhm.
they go to my FICO to pull up? Will the score be the same? If is it, will it be the same as what they see on their credit report, or will it be a little different?
Yeah, so it's good because Experian is FICO scores. If you have a
Okay.
subscription with Experian, usually you're going to see either one credit score, which is Experian, of course, or you're going to see all three if you pay for them.
Okay.
Experian does match my FICO. It's just that my FICO is actually going to update daily if there's changes. So
Oh,
that's the only way that it could be a little bit different.
now is my FICO free, or is there a subscription every month, or?
My FICO is a paid subscription. There is the basic plan that you can get that updates. It'll update your all three credit reports, like the
Okay.
full credit report every quarter, but it actually gives updates daily. So that's the one that I tell my clients to get, depending on where they're at in their credit repair program. Hey, go
Okay.
in, pull your FICO scores, let me know what your mortgage scores are. Just because some lenders want to know what your mortgage scores are before you submit an application,
Yes, they do.
and some lenders will say, "Hey, go ahead and send them to me. I'll pull the FICO scores." So it really depends. But mainly, I would always suggest before you start the process, you can order your own FICO scores, just so you don't feel like you going to a lender and wasting your time. You'll know if you're already at the minimum score requirement, or if you pull your FICO scores and you're there, like if you're at a 620, even like a
Yes.
16,
Yeah.
close,
Yeah.
the
Yeah. That's
lender will let you know like specific accounts that you need to pay off in order to get an approval.
And you know something you said a while ago about the credit, the buyers, every lender is different. Some lenders will make you pay for your own credit report up front, and then some of them will run it and put it on your closing disclosure later. So I want them to know that too. So a lot of people are stuck on Credit Karma. Oh, Credit Karma said my score was 750. And then when they pull, they go to Experian, it be 200. I'm just saying. So tell me, can you explain to the audience what's the difference between Experian and that? Tell them, just explain that.
Okay, cool. So there is, like I said, there's the Vantage scores and there's the real FICO scores. Credit Karma is Vantage scores. Okay. They are absolutely correct. It's not that Credit Karma is wrong. It's just that you have all the accounts on your credit report, and then it generates a specific score on Credit Karma.
Okay.
Credit Karma is right. It just doesn't have the right score, or it doesn't have the score that lenders use. So I definitely, if you are not willing to pay for credit monitoring, or if you don't need credit monitoring, if you're not in credit repair, some people don't need credit monitoring. Credit Karma is really good because it shows your exact balances. It shows the number of accounts that you have. It shows the payment history. Credit Karma is very good for being up to date with the data. So
with the data.
Yeah, okay. That's the only thing that I would use Credit Karma for, is to know what's on your credit report. Forget the scores.
Okay.
But some people actually, I did a poll on my story probably like 2 months ago. Even myself, I have higher FICO scores than what's on Credit Karma. So it's not to confuse, like, just because what you see on Credit Karma, you want to know your FICO scores, but understand that you may have a lower FICO score, and some people are actually higher than what they see on FICO on Credit Karma. So it's just important, like, to know your specific situation and where you stand. Like I said, I would definitely always order my FICO, and I pay for my FICO as well as having all these other credit monitoring services, just because they update at different times, but I know my real FICO score. So,
but to be clear, the lender doesn't use Credit Karma. They have their own. Some of them what is called tri-merge. But to be clear for the buyer, Credit Karma, the data is correct, but maybe the data is correct because they got all the credit information on there. Whereas Experian, each one of them is broke down by whichever bureau that they belong to. So that's why the scores are so different. Because most people, the scores may be like 20 or 30 points less than what they see, on Credit Karma. So
and like I said, it really depends on the person specifically. Some people, their scores are like right there with Credit Karma. Their real FICO scores, some are less, some are higher. I've even seen like a 50-point higher FICO score than what's on Credit Karma. So it really depends on that person specifically. But there's a few reasons that those scores differ, even though it's the same data. But one reason that it differs from the beginning is that whenever you're building credit, if you open a brand new credit account, it's going to take 6 months to generate a FICO score versus Credit Karma or Vantage is going to be on that credit report within like 30 days. So you already have a Credit Karma score in like 30 days, where you go to FICO and you don't have a FICO score because that account has been open 6 months. But there's like 5 different other reasons that you have a different Credit Karma and FICO score. So like I said, it's really specific to that person because they can be around the same, they can be higher or lower.
Okay, so the other question that I do have, I'm glad you said something about generating a credit score. Okay, so like, correct me, I can't think, like, if I'm buying a house and the lender says, a rescore. What is a rescore? That's what I want to know. What is a rescore?
So from my understanding, I think a rapid rescore means that maybe the lender let me know something that I needed to pay off.
Okay, yes.
Usually it's not going to update on my credit report until maybe like 30 to 60 days, maybe depending
Yes.
on when that company updates. Instead of the lender waiting for that to update, if it's already been imported into the credit bureau software, maybe they can pull it sooner than it would have, or get manual information to input into their system and generate a score. That's my
Okay.
understanding of
Okay, so they can see it before we actually see it on our own bureau.
it.
That's for
Exactly.
lending purposes to buy a mortgage. So that's
Exactly.
what the rapid score is. So when you say it takes 6 months to generate a FICO score, how
Hmm.
long does it take for a new credit card? I know they immediately put it on there, but how long does it take? Like, I get a credit card today and I go use it on Friday and I wait till the bill come in next month. How long will the payment history take to show up on the credit report?
It varies just because it's specific to the credit card company or to the
Okay.
creditor.
Okay.
So for example, if I have my Apple card, Apple reports
Yes.
at the end of the month.
Okay.
So it can
Okay.
take, depending on their cycle, Apple can take like up to 60 to 65 days to report on the credit
Oh,
report. Versus you have some cards that actually report sooner. So I have a secured card that's no credit score requirement, and
okay.
pretty much a guaranteed approval unless you have a bankruptcy. This
Okay.
card is one that I recommend to my clients, but a good benefit of this card, if they're trying to build a score faster, is that it reports even before you get it. So say my client applies for this secured credit card today, they get an approval, it's going to be on their credit report within like a week or two, even
Okay.
before they
Okay.
receive it by mail. So it really is specific to the lender, but most times when you get a credit card, you can expect it to be on your credit report within like 45 to 60 days sometimes.
Okay. So if you get approved for a credit card with a high credit limit, when they put that on your credit report, will that boost your score up or will it just still be the same?
A lot
ten
of the
thousand
time,
dollars
right.
credit limit.
A lot of the times it's going to depend on the rest of the credit score, and it's going to depend on the balance on that credit card. So that's a good question, because I was actually talking to a lender about this the other day, because I know that lenders, loan officers, they're always
Yes.
advising, hey, don't apply for a credit card whenever you're going through the home buying process.
Right.
New information. But I had to get clarification from the loan officer, because I was like, hey, this person can use a new credit card because they don't have a lot of credit. And I knew based on their credit reports and me just knowing like different data points, they can get approved for a higher limit. So I was like,
Okay.
I know you don't recommend applying for a credit card just because you think that it's going to be a credit score decrease because it's a new account. But
Right.
they did clarify, and this is my thoughts on it as well. As long as there's not going to be a huge balance or much more debt, then it's okay to apply for a credit card when you're going through the home buying process. The thing is, the lender, the loan officer, the lender, like I said, they don't know that if you get a $10,000 credit card, because it doesn't report to your credit immediately, they don't know if you just ran up $9,000 in additional debt. But the way
Okay.
to get
Okay.
around that, you can apply for the credit card. Most times, it's definitely going to improve your credit score, depending on the balance and making sure that you don't have too much more negative reporting. If the rest of your credit profile looks good and the report's a low balance,
Uh-huh.
as long as you can give the lender a statement that says, hey, I'm only using $100 or
Mhm.
$400 of this $10,000 limit, that's really your proof that you haven't gone and opened up a credit card and got into more debt. So it really is something that
Okay.
you just kind of have to prove. But most times that credit card, especially with that limit, is usually going to increase your credit scores because it's going to decrease your utilization.
Speaking of that, so say for instance, uh, I have a credit card that's 10,000, and one is 6,000, and one is 5,000, and one is 1,000, and it's nothing on either one of them. But I do have credit cards that I'm paying. Is it a negative or a positive to have all that open end credit when you're buying a house, or is it a negative or a positive period whether you're buying a house or not?
Yeah, so it's really good. The thing about opening credit cards, especially, is to space them out. So
Okay.
a lot of the times when people start building their credit, they start accepting all credit card offers that come to them, which is a
Okay.
It can be mostly a negative thing because you open up so many accounts at one time. But
Okay.
if you have those type of credit limits, $5,000, $4,000, $10,000, you have a pretty clean profile, but you also may have credit history, maybe meaning you have your oldest credit account 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So you have
Yeah.
some room to say like, hey, I can open newer accounts because I have a long standing credit history, I have a good age. So that's the main thing when you're opening up accounts. As long as you space them out, people in the 750s, high 800s, they have credit accounts that they open. They don't apply for credit very often. They maybe apply for credit 1 to 3 times a year. So compared to somebody that's always applying for credit, that's the main difference. You just don't want to apply for too much credit too often or too much credit in a short period of time.
Okay. The other question I have, when you get that pre-approval in the mail, is that a hard pull? Is that a soft pull that they already done versus you going on the line and applying? Which one is hurts your credit more? The pre-approval that you get in the mail that they say, oh, put this code in, and it's a soft pull, and then if you have the monitoring system like me, it'd be like, oh Lord, my score went down 10 points. So is it good to get a pre-approval in the mail? Have they already pulled your credit? Or what determines a creditor to send you that pre-approval letter in the first place?
Right. So there is something where you can go and freeze, like you can stop pre-approvals, and
Okay.
basically that means companies can't do a peak or a soft pull. So
Okay.
anytime that you're getting these letters in the mail, hey, you're pre-qualified or you're pre-approved, that means they have basic information on you. Maybe they have just general information of what your credit report looks like, and they
Okay.
know that you have a high chance of approval. So it's a good thing because you already know that you have a good chance of being approved, but it's not guaranteed. So you can go put the code in, and most times, like from what I've seen, you can actually be approved like 80 to 95% of the time. But there's a very small chance of not being approved depending on where your credit reports are today. It's a good thing also, even if you don't get these letters by mail, that you do pre-approvals online. Maybe Capital One or Discover, they have
Okay.
pre-approvals. You go put
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
information. Those are soft inquiries. If you fill out an official application, even with the letters by mail, those are hard inquiries. And
Okay.
people are afraid of hard inquiries. Inquiries you're gonna get. You need inquiries in order to build your credit. The points that you lose, maybe 2, 3 points. Sometimes it can be up to 5 or 10 points, depending on what you have on your credit profile. Those inquiries are needed in order to build credit. So you don't want to be afraid of the inquiries if you need that account.
Okay. So it's a good thing. The pre-approval. So when they send you the pre-approval and you put that code in, that's when the score will be affected. That's when they'll actually, you'll see, will it be a soft pull or a hard pull? Like you said, well, it depends on the creditor, but that's when you'll see your score affected, is when you actually apply. That's what I guess I'm asking.
When you fill out an official application. So
Okay.
if you put the code in, fill out a hard application, or even if you just go straight online, if I send you a link to apply for Capital One pre-approval,
Okay.
just seeing if you're approved, that's not a hard inquiry. They're gonna pull back. They're gonna pull your scores, do a soft peek, and let you know, hey, you're approved for this amount. If you don't apply, then it's not a hard inquiry. If you go ahead and open that account, that's when it's a hard inquiry. And
Okay.
you didn't ask this, but just going on a little bit, if you are disputing hard inquiries that are tied to an open account, you run the risk of having that account open or having that account closed. So just say some people have maybe 15 inquiries on their credit report and they're trying to get them out. If you go in and dispute all accounts that are on your credit report, all the hard inquiries, any ones that you actually have an open account with, that creditor is basically getting an alert, like you said, this is fraud, that they put an application in your name. So if you're disputing hard
Mm,
inquiries, you don't want to dispute any inquiries that are tied to an open account.
okay. Um, Another question I have: when you are disputing something on the credit report, and 4 years ago you didn't pay it on time, but your last 2 years you paid on time. So when you dispute to get off the bad credit, sometimes they remove the whole thing and it lowers your credit. Is it good to dispute it or just let it go?
And that really depends on what you said in the letter. If you say, hey, this account is not mine, I'm disputing the validity of this account. Like, I don't agree with this account at all. A lot of the times that's going to alert the creditor that you're saying this account is not yours, because that's specifically what you said. Versus
Okay.
you may be disputed late payments. Late payments, you said, okay, this account is mine, but I don't agree that I made these late payments.
Okay.
So a lot of the times, good or bad, a lot of the times your accounts on your credit report are updated or deleted based on what you exactly said when you disputed it.
Okay.
But
Well, that was a lot of information.
Mhm.
What I want you to do now is to give your information. Just give a little bit of information about yourself and your phone number, and they can call you. Just give them your information.
So again, if you're watching this or catch the replay, I am Demetria Ross. I'm the owner of Ross Financial Solutions. I am assisting my clients with building their personal credit. I can be found on Instagram at Ross, ROSS Financial Solutions. Also, my Facebook business page is Ross Financial Solutions. My personal page on Facebook, I give a lot of credit advice, a lot of credit tips, credit building tips, even some tax prep information. I am Credit Repair by Demetria on here personally. And then I have TikTok as well. That's Credit Repair by Demetria.
Okay.
My website, rossfinancialsolutions.com. I do have paid consultations, but this week I'm actually offering to waive the fee. So if you schedule a consultation this week, that credit consultation fee will be waived. And I have a few different plans, but mainly most clients sign up for what's called a pay per delete plan, where you pay to get enrolled and then you don't pay anything else unless you get results or deletions. So
Did you say you do taxes as well?
I do.
Okay, tell them about your tax business.
So yeah, I've gotten into the industry this year, so I am new, but I am very thorough. If I have a question that I don't know, or if I need something answered, I'm always going to go find it. I'm always researching and studying. So I have a lot of knowledge in the industry to make sure that we get you the maximum return or refund, or just reduce your tax liability. So sometimes people are going to get refunds and sometimes people are going to owe, but
Right. Yeah.
we can deduct, and the expenses that they report, we can make sure that their tax debt is lowered. So I do have that. I offer business and personal individual filing and amendment. So if you need assistance there, you can visit my pages as well, or the website, and you can go ahead and have us file, or you can pay for an estimate just to see maybe what you get.
Do you have a website? The same phone number, or do you have a website that they can?
All the same. It's all under the same. So rossfinancialsolutions.com. Or if you go to my personal page, there's a link directly to the intake form. If you know you want me to file for you, I can also be reached at 469-616-3680.
Girl, this is great information. Y'all, she will be back next month or the next month. Starting next month, I myself will be on one day for 30 minutes, and then the next day, that next Monday, it'll be for an hour. I thank everyone for coming today. I thank everyone, that are listening and tuning in. I hope this was very beneficial to you all. My name is Labrita Dews, and I am a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I am currently studying to become a broker, so hopefully in the next couple of months, I will be a broker. If you or anybody else that looking to buy a house, or even looking to list or sell or lease, just give me a call at 817-975-9284. You can go to my business page. It's the KLS Realty Group. I'm on LinkedIn, not TikTok yet. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, just inbox me even on my personal page, and I will get back with you. I do have a website. It's www.labritadews.com. And again, I really appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight. Just give me a call if you want to talk about buying a house, and call Miss Ross if you're thinking about getting your credit repaired.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Demetria, and I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me so much.
Have a good week.
You too.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
It's the things that you do, and it's a sign of